Perhaps I treated you too harshly.
Hi everyone, this is Chief Balupa here. Today we're going to be talking about the Force of Nature, a weapon that I did a great service to a while back with my most popular video, calling it the most unreliable weapon in the game, which is a very, very foolish statement considering all the other weapons that are available. And especially considering that this thing is actually really good. It's actually quite good. You just need to know how to use it, and I clearly did not. I did not judge it fairly at all. I was quite foolish, actually. Yeah, I was judging the Force of Nature based off of the merits of the Scattergun Scout's primary, which is something that I avoided doing with all my subsequent videos, such as the shortstop. Because it was so apparent, you know. The shortstop, just by appearance, is obviously very different from the stock scattergun. So I guess it was easier for me to realize how different it is in gameplay. With the Force of Nature, I seriously failed to do that. I was fixated on the fact that it's a double-barreled shotgun, and focusing on the double-barreled shotguns of games in the past, such as Doom 2, because I'm like, well, you know, it's got 2 barrels, that means it must do a lot of damage with each shot. Duh. Otherwise, how on earth is it worth using? But, no, that's a really stupid way of thinking. This gun is very powerful. It's just the power comes from something other than straight up damage. It's more complicated and interesting than that. You see, when you equip the Force of Nature, it's just like equipping a shield as Demo Man over a sticky bomb launcher. Because when you equip a shield, you are trading straight up consistent damage output along with the ability to stay in sustained fights for pick potential. And that is what this weapon is all about. It's all about going for solitary targets that you have the ability to sneak up on or otherwise face alone. Because with the push force mechanic, which is something that I hated on a lot in the original video, quite foolishly, you can get around the map better than most classes. Not through sheer speed or mid-air stuff, but just the ability to not be blocked by any kind of ledge or anything like that. So you can get around a lot of stuff. Whether it's a cliff or, you know, just a big-ass building that's in the way of a route. You can just jump right up them, and it also leaves you open to picking other stuff in your secondary and melee slots, you know, because if you can do all that stuff, no need to pick a winger for jump height or an atomizer for triple jumps, stuff like that. So yeah, the push force is something that I made fun of a lot in my original video, because not only did the weapon deal only a little more damage with each shot, that being 8, does 8 more damage with each meat shot compared to the scattergun due to shooting more pellets, but each pellet doing less damage. So it does do more damage, but the amount of damage it does is quite as significant. But with the push force, the subsequent shots of the weapon do less damage due to damage fall off. You know, the first shot does maximum damage, and the second will do a little less because they're now flying through the air a bit further from you. But if you're playing right, that's not how it goes, you know. You're not supposed to be in those positions where they'll take significantly less damage from that second shot. If you line it up correctly, then you'll do good damage consistently. And that leads me to how it's supposed to be used. You see, using the push force on yourself, you're supposed to get around the map very quickly and target solitary targets. And if you can use your push force to put them in disadvantageous positions that completely throw them out of their element and force them into a bad spot. You know, whether it's like up against a wall ready for the second shot, or off a cliff, or in a very easy to predict position to follow up with something like a cleaver or a pistol, which is what I frequently do. I really enjoy running the pocket pistol with this thing because it has very high DPS, and sometimes the first 2 initial shots are not enough to kill, but they'll be close enough that the pistol can finish them off. Plus, you know, the health back helps a lot too. Speaking of health back, this is, I think, the only primary weapon in Scout's arsenal that I would truly recommend using the candy cane with. I talked about the candy cane in my shortstop video, in how since you are distancing yourself from enemies, you don't have to worry as much about explosives, therefore allowing you to gain the benefits of medkits dropping from enemies you kill. But that's still not great because you are not close to the enemy to benefit from that medkit. Like at most, your allies might be able to pick it up. But if you're killing enemies in their own territory, it's more than likely they will be the ones picking it up. But if you're using the shortstop, then you're completely good to go because this thing is so pick oriented. You just have your pick of who you want to fight, meaning that if there's a soldier or a demo man and you're weak to soldiers and demo men, just don't fight them. You already pick your targets as it is, just don't pick those ones, you know? You're not supposed to be fighting in the front lines anyways, and that's the spot that soldiers and demo men are in the most. More often than not, they will be fighting your allies, and while Scout is very good at targeting enemies that are predisposed, it's usually not a great idea with soldiers and demo men because they can turn around and destroy you so easily. It's better to go for the loners who you can target in 1v1s. And I say loners, but other scouts generally can be kind of difficult to fight with this thing, just because, you know, they have way more ammo to work with. It can work well if you're in a good spot, like if you can run around corners and stuff like that, but if you're in even ground, more often than not, they'll just completely destroy you. So I would avoid scouts most of the time if you can help it. You know, it's kind of like a huntsman sniper going up against a normal sniper. You just do your best to avoid those kinds of confrontations. But anyway, since you're avoiding fighting soldiers and demo men, you can reap the benefits of the candy cane and its medkit drops pretty easily, just because you're not worrying about explosive damage. You know, you come around the corner, you kill an enemy, get a medkit, and suddenly you can keep going. Stay behind enemy lines, and you've got health to do it. It's a lot of fun. That's the best thing about the Force of Nature. Like, I would never say that this is as good or better than stock. I would still say the soda popper is the only one that is as good as stock, but I would say it very much prioritizes fun. It's a very fun weapon to use, just because you get to maximize your presence as a nuisance on the battlefield, which is a lot of fun, you know. Like, that's why there's the skunt playstyle. You know, those guys in lime green running around being annoying. I've never done it myself, but I understand why they're doing it, because they're not just playing as a skunt, they are using the Force of Nature playstyle, and they're just enhancing it with their added annoyance. See, those are guys who are just there to have fun, and they know that the Force of Nature is good at that, so they are using it along with their other tactics to be extra annoying, thus distracting enemies from the front line as they try to take them out, as well as just having more fun because they're being annoying. So while it doesn't do that much more damage with each shot, it really does have the ability to line up very quick kills. Just 2 shots and you kill. And well, that's something that the soda popper does easily enough. The Force of Nature has the ability to set the next shot up very easily. You don't even need to get a meat shot to do the push force. It's all about discombobulating the enemy so that they don't know how to react to the subsequent attacks, because it's not like there's a limit to the amount of times you can push them. You can just keep them completely out of the element the entire time. As you might see in the footage here, there are many times where I completely shut down enemy just because I'm forcing them up against a wall or out of the way of the spot that they want to be in. It's very effective as long as you're using it correctly. And you know, I'm sure that 8 extra damage comes into play somewhere, of course, but I wouldn't know where. I suppose there is a situation where you might use the Criticola, but it's going to be quite hard with that extra damage taken. If you're not in a position to be careful with it, that you could get destroyed almost instantly, which, you know, that sucks. So, high mobility, high pick potential, decent damage, and very, very fun playstyle. Sounds really good, and it is, but there's one more thing I wanted to talk about, and it was actually the thing that got me inspired to do this video in the first place. Or, well, the thing that got me inspired to even equip the weapon again, because ever since that video, I never once equipped it a second time, because I was just done with it. You know, I had a bad time getting that footage because I disliked the weapon so much. The thing I'm talking about is some added mobility that I did not know a scout could obtain. And this is something that I'll call air dashes. I don't think anyone else has named it, so I'll just call it that. So when you're playing as Scout with the Force of Nature, you can do something called a fan jump, which is where while you're running forward, you can fire in a 45-degree angle at the ground, which causes it to transform your forward momentum into upward momentum, thus giving you a much higher jump than you normally would have if you were to jump in the air and fire straight at the ground. And the same sort of thing can be done with falling. You see, the same sort of mechanics can be used to transition downward momentum into forward momentum, funnily enough. So there is the potential of jumping from a high height and allowing yourself to fall a good distance, thus gaining plenty of downward momentum, and then aiming downward behind you at a 45-degree angle and firing, thus transforming all that downward momentum into forward momentum, basically boosting you in whichever direction you'd like. And I saw this in a video, funnily enough, by SketchEck. I saw that trick, and I was thinking, maybe that's a fun enough mechanic to actually make the Force of Nature fun to play again. So that's what got me into giving it another shot. And funnily enough, I started to enjoy the Force of Nature, but not because of that trick. Because while I think that trick is very good, it's also nearly impossible to actually perform in real gameplay for 3 reasons. One is you need to turn yourself completely around to make use of it, thus not knowing what's happening in front of you, and not even knowing if your target is still there for you to dash into, which might not be a problem for high sensitivity players. Personally, I play on more of a low sensitivity, just makes it easy for me to get off more detailed shots. But it is there, you're not even looking in the direction you want to go anymore. Second is the fact that you're not actually paying attention to what's going on around you, which means you could just get airshot by someone and die instantly. Or if you mistime the shot, you could fall to the ground, shoot it, and then be at the mercy of everyone while you're wondering, wait, why am I not careening toward the direction I wanted? And thirdly, the worst is that need for downward momentum. You see, in order to get sufficient downward momentum, you need to fall, and for quite a while. You need to either find a really high spot, which there's not that many of in this game, unless you're at, like, high tower, and you need to allow yourself to be falling for a decent amount of time to make use of it. Because the more momentum you have, the further you'll dash. And the biggest problem with that is the fact that you're not actually advancing toward your target. You're just heading straight down instead of heading in a straight line, which feels a little counterintuitive to me. So, I don't know. It's kind of cool, but it also just feels so impractical to try and make use of. I'd like to see someone use it better, because maybe I'm just bad at it. If you can show me how it should be used, I'd love to see it, because every time I try it, it just feels kind of lackluster because you need to be heading downward at such a decent speed. So that is a really cool thing, a lot of fun, but other than that, the weapon is just great. It's a really, really fun weapon, which allows for a lot of extremely fun playstyles and picks. Just do not try for frontline fighting alongside your allies. You will just get your butt handed to you. The requirement of reloading every 2 shots along with no reload speed increase makes you have more downtime than you normally would, especially since players on the front line are much more cautious about not getting close to people. You won't be able to get good shots off. So when you pick this weapon, always try and go for solitary targets. You can try and help your allies with some if you'd like. Of course, you should do that, but you might not have great success if there's multiple enemies. You might get your butt handed to you. The only other thing I wanted to say is that this weapon is surprisingly good at spy checking, because quite uncharacteristic to other weapons that do not take effect on disguised spies, the push force actually does work on them while they're disguised, meaning not only are you immediately calling out that an enemy is a spy, but you're also moving them from the spot that they would normally want to be in. You could very well prevent them from backstabbing a teammate with that push force. Just don't do it while chasing directly behind them, because you will push them in the direction they're going, thus possibly causing them to take the backstab. So if you're looking to be the best spy checker scout, I would very much equip this weapon. So this is the good one. I like this one. It's a lot of fun. I wouldn't say it's better or as good as stock, but it's fun. So yeah, there's a takeaway. I am sorry for what I said about you, Force Nature, and I take it all back. Rest in peace, my most popular video. You have now been invalidated. Oh well, that's just how it goes. I've gotten enough comments from people calling me out correctly on misusing this weapon. So if I get another, I'll just link this video. Oh well. So yeah, thanks for watching. I hope to do plenty in the future, whether it's TF2 or otherwise. So stay tuned, and I'll talk to you next time. Have a wonderful day. Chief Balupa out. Never said that before, but I'm saying it now. Bye.